episode 2 for the 2017-2018 Knights of Meaford hockey season. I'm your host, Rob Leonard. The Knights, 4 games under their belt so far. You wouldn't think it with the weather outside. It's hockey season already, but the Knights having a super start to this season. A record of 2 wins, 1 overtime loss, and 1 regulation loss for 5 points. Their last game, only 1 game last week, had a bit of an easy time, a bit of a rest last week. They played the New Tech Civics for the 2nd time in 2 weeks, dropping a very close decision by a score of 5-4. And the Knights rallied late in the 3rd period, but were unable to get a victory against New Tech. But that was their 2nd 1-goal loss to New Tech in 2 weeks. So New Tech undefeated, sitting at the top of the standings. Knights giving them probably their best games of the season. That's going to set the tone for later on this year, I'm certain. Team leading scorer Tyler Strutz with a pair of goals in that game. Callum Queenan and Alexander Nazkov with singles. And yeah, so that'll do it for that game. Let's take a look at the league standings if we could, Mark. As you can see, New Tech on top. They have been the division champions for the last 2 years in a row, sitting at 6-0. But as I said, the Knights playing them very strong, and the 2 times that they've played them. Bradford Rattlers looking good at 6-1. Almaguin, they've got 5 wins on the season, and then it tightens up a bit here with West Nipissing, Ville Marie, South Muskoka, Meaford, Temiskaming, Seguin, all within. You look at Seguin with 4 points, up to Almaguin. There's only a 6-point difference there. Still early in the season. The Knights have only played 4 games. This has been kind of the trend over the last couple of years. Meaford playing less games than the other teams at this point of the season. So let's take a look at the Knights' leading scorers. Sitting on top, newcomer Tyler Strutz. He has played 4 games. He's got 9 points, 7 goals, 2 assists. Alexander Nazkov, great to see him back. 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points. Eric Lowry having a great start, 6 points. 17-year-old Quebec native Brandon Farrell sitting there with 5 points. Great to see the young man doing so well. And then got a bunch of defensemen in there. You got Will Vernon, Colton Langowski, and yeah. So again, the Knights starting off the season quite well, getting some production from all 4 lines this year. So if we can take a look at the upcoming games. If we have the upcoming games, and we do. Next action is going to be this coming Thursday night in Temiskaming. That's a long haul for the Knights. They'll be getting home late that night, but they need to exact some revenge on the Titans. And actually, I need to exact some revenge too. I lost out in the best broadcasters vote at the end of the season to Bubba LaCourse. So Bubba, if you're watching the show, get the boys to say hi to you. I'll say hi to you myself. How you doing, Bubba? And you take a look now. The first Rogers TV game is going to be on Thursday, October the 12th. That's going to be kicking off the Knights' home schedule to the Wyerton Schooners. And then a couple days later, Meaford's going to get Wyerton again. Wyerton's struggling so far at this point of the season with no wins. So then you take a look at West Nipissing on the 19th. In the month of October, you take a look, and Meaford plays Wyerton, I believe, 4 times, and they have Fergus a couple of times. So I'm going to say a bit of a light schedule for the month of October, but a good chance for the Knights to get everything going. You know, they got a lot of new players on the team, plus to pick up some much-needed points heading into November and December. So now, the GMHL started a new thing this year, and what they're doing is they're introducing power rankings. And every 2 weeks, they're going to issue their picks for the top 40 players in the North Division, as well as the top 40 players in the South Division. There's an executive, I guess, or a group of 8, I believe, executives from around the league, that being coaches, general managers, what have you, who will select their top 40 players from each division. Now, what this is going to do, there are some of the schools in the States, for example, some of the other organizations for the players to advance to haven't got money in their budget for scouts to go out and take a look. And it's such a big league too, it's really difficult for the scouts to get out and take a look at everybody in all the games. So what this does, it's a guideline for the scouts and for the schools that are interested in attracting players. They can take a look at the rankings every 2 weeks, maybe pick out a player or two that they want to go and see, the ones that can get out and get the scouting done, and it'll make their life a lot easier. Plus, it enhances the exposure for the players as well. So, plus the ones that have been selected, it's a bit of a feather in their cap. So let's take a look. There were 5 Knights that were selected, and my guest on Meet the Knights, who is here in the studio with me, Graeme Gemmill, was selected the 3rd best goalkeeper in the North Division. We'll talk to him about that when we have him on later. Tyler Strutz is sitting at 10th. Alexander Nazkov sitting at 28th. Brandon Farrell, as I said, 17 years old. He's sitting at number 29. And Nico Walsh, rounding out the 5 Knights on that list, sitting at 34. So, all right, so now on Knights Talk, it's time for Meet the Knights. Now, we've changed it up a little bit this year. In years gone by, or in the last couple of years, we've pre-taped the episodes at the arena throughout the season, and we just, put them into the show. So what we thought we'd do this year is to make it for, a better experience for the players, and we'd invite the players into the studio, let you guys get a feel for exactly where the show all comes from and everything that goes into it. And my very first guest now, Graeme Gemmill, Graeme Gemmill.
That's okay.
Is, as we said, he's a starting goalkeeper for the Knights of Meaford this year. You and I met last season. You came up to Meaford to catch a game, and at that time I promised you that you would be the very first guest on Knights Talk, and kept my word.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
You didn't even have to remind me.
No, you remembered.
All right, so welcome, Graeme. Now, you're having a great start to the season. Take a look at it. You got 2 wins and 2 losses. One was an overtime loss. And now, in this league, you're not, I don't know how familiar you are with GMHL, but it's a very high-scoring league. And I take a look at your numbers with a 2.81 goals against average and a .911 save percentage. That is amazing in this league. And as we said earlier, you're ranked number 3 in the division right now as far as goalkeepers go. That's well deserving. In those numbers, you should be number 2.
I mean, my team helps me out a lot. Majority of the time I see every shot I get. My defense talk to me a lot. Usually, odd man rush, 2-on-1s. They always know I'll take the shot. They'll take the pass for me. It makes my job a lot easier when things are simplified. And we've been producing offensively. We get goals, so that when they give me goal support, it makes it a lot easier on myself as well.
Absolutely, and you've got a great core from last year back there with Will Vernon and some of these veterans, and Connor Long and guys like that. And as you said about that communication back there, I mean, the goalkeeper is the one that can see the entire ice. So important for you to have a good relationship with the defenders and forwards and keep that communication going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's important for me to let them know when they have time to move the puck. And simply just letting them know what I see when they can't see things when their back's to the play. I can see the whole ice, and sometimes when they're facing the board, it's a little bit more difficult for them to make a decision. But they communicate with me as well. The same thing when I come out and stop the puck. They're yelling at me where to move it to, and so far so good, I guess. We haven't been scored on a turnover behind the net, but hopefully things stay that way.
That's right, and it's difficult. You've been around the game a long time, so you're 21 this year?
Yep.
So this will be your final year of junior, and I'm sure you would love to see a Russell Cup at the end of this season.
Yeah, absolutely, more than anything. I think the town deserves it. I think we have the right piece to the puzzle right now to do it. I think we just have to put the work in. I think that's what it all comes down to, is the league's pretty competitive this year. And we have to be able to get those wins, those overtime wins that are the 1-goal games. We have to kind of grind a bit harder and find a way to get those 2 points more consistently.
And you know, I think this is probably one of the better starts that the Knights have had in past years. So it's a great start. Now I was watching another show inside the GMHL, and the league president was talking about the Knights, and he said, in his opinion, 4 solid lines. You got 4 lines that you could roll game in, game out, and you know that in his from what he had said, that's what carried the Niagara Whalers to the season that they had, was because they had a lot of talent, but they really had that depth.
Oh, I mean, it's a comfort thing too. When even as a goalie, when I know that we have 4 lines of defensemen, 4 lines of forwards, that they all can produce, get the job done, and be consistent, it makes everyone kind of feel more relaxed. There's never a time where someone goes on the ice and we're kind of a little bit nervous about where the puck's going to end up, you know. But I think no matter who's on the ice, we're going to be successful.
Now, I can probably save this question for later on in the season, but because, well, you guys have been together for a while and you've played on a number of teams. How does this team maybe compare to other teams that you've played on in the past in junior?
You know what? I find the GMHL is a totally different league than what I've played in before. Last year was in the PGHL, which is Junior C. And I've played in the CCHL too as well, which is Junior B. It's the CCHL affiliate. And I find the GMHL is a lot more gritty. There's way more shots in games. I'm seeing in this league right now 40 to 50 shots a game, which I enjoy. That's partially why I came to this league. That and the physicality, there's always big hits, guys crashing to the net. And this seems to be a league of opportunity for older guys. You can't play Junior A in the other leagues as a 21-year-old, and this is kind of the last opportunity for a lot of guys. So I find that the league has a lot more talent when it comes to older guys.
Well, when you talk about shots, you've also faced 113 shots in your first 4 games. So,
yeah.
As you said, you face a lot of rubber, and you know, in my time with doing the Knights broadcast, yeah, there's a ton of shots.
Yeah.
That's like I said, thus the high scores and
yeah, makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I played goal for a few years myself, and nothing worse than just standing there and waiting.
You get bored. Yeah.
You want some action, you know, because if you go through a lull, you're not getting any pucks at you.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you're getting, you know, one's going to go in the net.
Yeah, I think. Excuse me. I think I've won more games where I get 50 plus shots than the games where I get less than 17. You get cold and you kind of get anxious to see a shot, and your mind kind of travels. You start looking in the stands and around at what's happening.
All right. Okay, so you know what? I know you have a huge following on Facebook. I know that, with all your family and your friends and everybody else. And any message you'd like to send to them, here's your opportunity to say hi to everybody.
I just want to say hi to my my parents back home, my grandparents, Art and Dorian Coda, Don Janice Peters, my buddies Matt and Wyatt Villalta back home, and just all my friends and family.
All right. That's fantastic, and thank you very much for being on this episode of Knights Talk. And I think next Thursday night is the home opener in Meaford versus the Wyerton Schooners. Hopefully you'll be in goal. Don't know, too soon to say.
Yeah.
Too soon to say. All right. Again, Rogers TV next Thursday night. That's October the 12th. Will be our first televised game, taped game. You'll be able to see it the following day on Friday at 5 o'clock on Rogers Channel 53. Again, Graeme, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you next time on Knights Talk.